Yo, what's up? I just want to thank you all for the amazing feedback I've gotten on the track, and it was an honor to be able to have it played in front of FINNEAS, Billie Eilish and you, Kenny. I decided to make a little breakdown of the beat so that you can all see how I did it, and maybe it can help some people inspire more music that's slow and four on the floor. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Alright, let's get right into it. I chose my favorite pieces from the sample, which is this one. And then this long one here. And what I did with it is I warped them to 100 BPM and kept the first one the way it was. I took the same one and I duplicated it and reversed it. I wanted it to have like a breathing feeling. So it sounds like this. And then it goes down again, so it keeps on going up and down. Then the long one I divided into two pieces. The first half I pitched it down so that it sounds a little bit nicer, gives it some diversity. And since the sample had this like pitch bending effect, I gave this one a little pitch bend towards the end as well. And then the brass one, the hits, I just warped them so that they're on beat. So once I had this, I was pretty happy already, and I based my entire track around that. I knew I wanted to have that intro with just the sample so that you can hear it. And then the first thing I did is I laid down the slow 4-on-the-4 kicks, which it's actually a murder beats kick. I've gotten into using trap drums for these like 4-on-the-floor beats, and they actually work pretty well. I layered it with a clap. Every second clap is a different clap on top of that, and it's all layered with a rim as well. What I did is I put them all a little bit forward in time so that they come a little bit early and just give it a nicer feel and a little bit of a groove. Once I had this, I think I went straight to the bass, because that's the most interesting part in my opinion. I started off with only 808s. This is the 808 sample. So with simply my 808, the bass and the drums sound like this. And I left a lot of space, and then I realized, you know what? I'm gonna try to combine it with a different bass so that the main hits are the 808, and then I have these like groovy fills with this cool sound that I tweaked of a preset that a friend of mine made. His name is Sour, really good musician, and I use it as a top bass. This is what it sounds like. And as you can see, I always moved it slightly off-grid in between every offbeat. It gives it a nice lazy groove feel. But I didn't like the low end of it, so I cut it and I layered it with this awesome Serum Sub preset. It's called, Sub DSKPRC. It's brilliant for low end. So together they sound like this. And it has a little bit of a pitch bend as well, as you can see. To make that a little bit more interesting, I layered the sample with some chords that like open up a little bit with the filter and then they close again. This is what they sound like. At some point I wanted it to like ring out a little bit longer, so I took a different sound. It's all from Arturia. I really love their stuff. Looks like both are from the CS80, which is an amazing instrument, and Arturia's emulators are pretty brilliant. I panned them a little bit to the left and the right, and together they sound like this. I wanted to give it a really groovy feel, and I think I achieved it a little bit more by taking off the volume completely after the first kick hit. So as you can see, it goes. Pause. It gives room for me to add some percussion fills later, and even when I made it come back on the offbeat, I delayed a little bit. Instead of coming back here, the sound, I put a little bit back to align with the swing of the rest of the song. So the main idea was done, and then what I did is I added some heads. I found these cool heads. I think it's from one of the Ill Factor sample packs. I chopped them up a little bit. They had a cool open head like this. Here's the loop. It's basically the same, and at the end it opens up. And I shifted that back a little bit to make it a little more lazy. So the claps and rim come in a little early, and the heads come in a little late. And then my favorite part, just throwing random little percussion samples on top of it and see what fits. Let me play you what it sounds like, just the percussion. Some ASMR shit. What I usually do is I take a loop that I like. It can be very percussive or not. And I click on warp. Choose a beats mode and make it really short transients, and it just picks out the little transients that Ableton notices, like those ones here, which makes it super choppy. I added a reverb on the entire bus, but without the reverb. I always moved it a little bit back on the off beats, or whatever you call it, to give it more of a groove, like I mentioned before. What else is there? I have this noise loop, which I just love. I love adding noise. Another one, and it's panned as well. And here's the last loop chop. The percussion really give it more movement, make it a little bit more unique. As you notice, the shaker comes in as well. That's just a loop I found. I delayed it by the same amount as the heads. And that's the main idea already. Together with the bass and the instruments, it sounds like what you heard in the final version. So that repeats for these two loops, and then I needed to change it up a little bit, and I added this. So it started off with this guitar, which is by the same producer friend that I mentioned earlier, called Sour. He played some guitar notes, and I took the first one as well as a little bit of the second bit, if I hold it. If I play a note longer, it plays multiple of these notes, for example, which sounds quite cool. And I layered it with this sound. And just the instruments without the bass sound like this then. And then the ending just gets taken over by this, I think it's an organ sound. And that's about it already with the elements. Some effects here and there. Towards the end I have a little crowd. I think it's from the Oliver sample pack, Splice. Another crowd impact. The intro is just a sample basically, and I added some ambience. If you listen closely. This is what the rain sounds like, and some firecrackle. Then it leads up to the drop. And before the drop I just pan everything to the left, pan everything to the right, and then with the fucked up medicine reversed kick, it goes into the drop, and then you got the entire beat. Yo, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I know that I didn't go too deep into details with some of the effects. I just wanted to cut as much time as I could because I already took so long explaining all the elements. But if you have any specific questions about anything that I did specifically, just let me know and I'll try to answer it. And I also want to take this time to quickly give a shout out to SynthFeed. It's a platform I've been working on for a few months with a few other producers, which basically tries to help upcoming producers like us get targeted feedback from industry established artists, which can sometimes be a good way to elevate to the next level and just continue learning like we all do in the Kenny Beats community. So I'll leave the links to that in the description as well. Take care, and thank you so much for this opportunity, Kenny. I really appreciated it.